Hi Lennox, welcome back to the online class of Get Educational Tutors, Get Online. Like we have said in our first video on this platform, that there are peculiar areas in English that are very prominent. And we made mention of the big five outlines in English that students should be well acquainted with before writing an exam in English. And today we want to look one of the most prominent and the most very logical and technical areas of English. And it is but no other aspects but the aspect called the text of oral. Some calls it the oral English or whatever. This aspect of English is a very important aspect of English that is very, very technical. And it has to do with the pronunciation of words, the speech activities of English. It has to do with how to pronounce words correctly and has to do with the sounds that are in each of the words in English. So we want to look at it on the angle that is being subdivided into, or generally in English or in the spoken English of as a language, the sounds of every words or the sounds that are inputted in every words are of different kind. And we discovered that it is not only in English that we make use of sound to speaking. Basically, sound is what we use while we speak, while we pronounce a word. Every language of the world is or a sound that people use in communication, and also the other part, which is the letter. Every language of the world has a letter, and there are clear difference between the sound of a language and the letter of a language. So we are not going to talk much on that. So the English songs, generally, they are of 44 in numbers. So we have 44 sounds generally in number, and these 44 sounds, they are subdivided into what we call the vowel and the consonant sound. The vowel and the consonant sound. The vowels, they are 20 in number, while the consonants are 24 in numbers. So the vowel sounds is further subdivided into what we call the monophthong and the diphthongs. So practically, there are differences between the sound of English or of any language and the letters. Like I said earlier, the letters are basically used for writing, while sounds are used in pronunciation. That are what we discovered during pronunciation. So for us to know the differences between sound and letter. Now, like I said earlier, there are 44 sounds generally in English. Why in the case of letter, we have just 26 letters of English. And meanwhile, these letters, they are pronounced differently in a word. So we make use of letter, like I said, in writing, and we make use of sound while we speak. So one of the ways to know the differences between letter and sound is, number one, a sound, we have what we call two slants or two stroke before and after the letter. But in the case you don't have any stroke, you should know that it is not a sound. It is a letter. And meanwhile, we don't write a sound with the use of uppercase inscription. So we make use of the lowercase. So another thing is that in sounds, there is another symbol in sounds that are very, very noticeable. The two dots in sound. So whenever we have two dots in a sound or with a sound, it indicates that that sound should be pronounced on a longer form. It shows that it is a long sound. So all of these things are what cut across the differences between sound and letter. The same way, like we have, like I told us, I said we have 20 vowels and 24 consonants in the sound. The same way, we also have we have 5 vowel and we have 21 consonants. So the same way we have for vowel as a letter, we also have a vowel in the sound. So we are going to look at the English vowel one after the other. The monophthong, that is a one or single sound. Monophthong has to do with a single sound pronounced on a single glide, while the diphthong has to do with double sounds put together. So the monophthongs, they are 12 in number, while the diphthongs, they are 8 in numbers. So basically we have the short and the long vowel. We're not going to talk about that on this lecture. So what we want to look at is practically the English vowel, and this class is going to be a kind of background for everything that we're going to be learning or coming across in the subsequent video that is going to be discussed under the text of oral. So generally in exams like WAHEC, NECO, or JAMB, there are some words that are peculiar to all of these exams bodies in which they use in testing candidates writing the exams. And we discover that in many of the works that most of these exam bodies come and bring across to the learners, we discover that there are words that are commonly mispronounced in the daily or in our general pronunciation in our locality. Jam, like they'll give you words like village, which we wrongly pronounce as village. This word is not pronounced as village, it is pronounced rather as village. Village. They give you words like basket, which is supposed to be pronounced as basket. They give you words like kernel, which is supposed to be pronounced as, which we generally pronounce it as colonel. This word is not pronounced as colonel, it is pronounced as kernel. Kernel, kernel. They give you words like nurse, which is generally pronounced wrongly as nurse. They give you words like church, which is generally mispronounced as church. So all of these words and a lot more, they give words like marriage, which is generally pronounced as marriage. So and the rest. So in our subsequent video, these are words that we're going to come up with, and we are going to look at the sounds in which they are applicable to, in which we have them. So we discover that in sounds, we don't care about the letters. We don't care about the letters. It is the sound that is in a particular word that you should, as a candidate, should take notice of. So, for instance, in the word, in these two words, you discover that we have a resemblance of two letters, letter O, also here, letter O, but they are not pronounced the same way in these two words. For instance, in this word, this letter OO is pronounced as blood, 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 the vowel number 10. While here it is pronounced as O, the long O, which is flood, flood. So we are much concerned in sound with the sound in a word, not the letters. So you shouldn't have it in mind that the pronunciation of a letter in a word is the same thing to is in another word. No, it is not done. So basically, like we said, we are going to start with the monophthongs. We are going to start with the monophthong, and we've told us that we have the 12 monophthongs in English. So stay tuned on this channel as we are going to be looking at each of the vowels, and we come up with enough examples of each of the words and the common words that are normally or that are usually projected towards candidates in order to check or to look at the sound we have in them in exams like WAEC, NECO, and JAMB. So stay tuned, subscribe on the channel, like and share. Thank you. See you on the next video.